Welcome back to another episode of Let's Have Breakfast. For those of you watching on YouTube, I do have my microphone in the frame today just because I felt like on the last episode you couldn't hear me very well. And like the audio quality is really important to me. People that are listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts are able to actually hear me without being like turning it up every 5 seconds or whatever. So yes, I am in true podcaster fashion holding my microphone today. I'm realizing also that I haven't introduced myself to any of the new listeners or watchers out there. This is Let's Have Breakfast. It's a weekly podcast that dives into the ups and downs that we face in our 20s and 30s now that I'm closer to that age. But I started this when I was like 22, so we keep it pushing, we keep evolving. This is really for the people that are dedicated to becoming the best versions of themselves. The idea to start this podcast and longer form content in general came from this idea that I had while I was actually on a work trip. I had ordered room service to my room, breakfast, of course, and I was just sitting there while eating my breakfast, talking in my voice notes app about things that I was going through, life in general, and just like walking myself through some solutions. And for me, it was like a light bulb went off and I was like, oh my gosh, let's have breakfast. Let me create this into a podcast. So for those of you who have been OGs, been here for a minute, thank you for listening. And for the new faces, hello, welcome, and I'm glad you're here. But that's not all I do. I started on TikTok and that's where a bulk of my following was and is no longer, I think. At least as I'm filming this, TikTok is technically going to be over in a few days. So I got my start on TikTok creating content and I really enjoyed the process of thinking of something, creating an idea, putting it out there, and people enjoying it. Started as a content creator, but I also work full-time in PR. That is another one of my many titles that I hold. And on top of that, I am recently engaged, which comes as a surprise to nobody because I don't shut up about it. I'm very excited. I am wedding planning and it just is like a whole process. It's a whole new learning curve. And while I am loving it, it is keeping me busy. All of these things, everything I'm listing is keeping me busy. And I'm excited for what this year can hold, but I also understand that there is this underlining theme of chaos already. January is typically a slower month, but this time, like, something is in the air this January, this year, and it is having me a little bit on edge. I don't know about you, but I just feel like I can't anticipate what the next move is and just like feel this uneasy state consistently of like what is gonna happen next, like where is the rug gonna be pulled from underneath me. That's why today we're talking about how to prepare yourself for chaos, how to stay grounded in the middle of it, and how essentially not to break down when it feels like the world is falling apart. From the news cycle to social calendars, 2025 already feels like I have every moment of my life planned out or need to be anticipating something big happening. And because of this, it feels like I'm constantly playing catch up. It's like I'm writing things on my to-do list each week that it's like, okay, this has to go to next week. And just like never really being able to find that balance in between because it feels like everything is changing. And they do say that 2025 is a 9-year. It means it's a year of opportunity, but it also means there is a major awakening and lots of change can happen. Although I am someone who really appreciates change and likes to be out of my environment and switch things up just to kind of refresh things, like I do have ADHD, so being able to try something new or develop a new routine is something that works for me. I think in general, we have a love-hate relationship with change. It is inevitable, so we do have to prepare ourselves, as unfortunate as it may be. But on the bright side, you can look at change as a new opportunity to do something. We associate change with negativity and we don't prepare ourselves properly to transition into these changes. Common misconceptions of change are that it's going to be quick and easy, which it's not, especially if it's a major life change like getting married, getting a new president, your favorite app being banned, moving to a new city, revamping your wardrobe, trying a new hairstyle. Like, these are things in theory we would like to be 100% okay with when they happen and just it happens and you get over it. But who's to say you're gonna like your hair when you change it? Developing a new wardrobe is going to take you some time. You're not just gonna find all the pieces overnight. Getting married is a process. And the other two things, well, feel a little bit out of our hands. But we have to accept that it's a change we're going through and prepare ourselves and not let it debilitate us. Which is another common misconception about change, is that if you avoid it, if you resist it, it's going to go away. It is not. It is not. For the rest of time, things are going to change, and you can either be anxious about it or you can be prepared. And take it from me, I'm a girl with anxiety. Although it is scary to think about the fact that life as I know it may not be the same life as I know it a few months, years down the line, I still have to prepare myself for changes and chaos that may come with it, so that way it doesn't feel like the end of the world when it happens. It's about to get crazy, right? It's about to get crazy. Here are some of the ways you can ground yourself amid chaos and change that will help you feel a sense of security. I highly recommend being flexible and adaptable. It is a strength that takes a lot of time and progress to work on because you have to be patient, and that is something I am not. So I have to really be intentional about being flexible. I'm someone who's very type A. If I said I'm going to do this thing today, I'm going to do it today. I'm going to stretch myself so far to make sure I do things exactly how I map them out, so that way I can feel like I did something. When in reality, that's just putting more pressure and more stress on myself to accomplish things that may not be a priority. And this is something that I'm working through in my professional and personal life, because I just feel this sense of obligation that nobody is putting on me besides myself. But if you also look at expectations that other people have of you, you have to be flexible there as well. So being flexible and adaptable might look like pushing your plans back so you can complete something, or understanding when a friend needs to cancel even though you were excited about it. It's preparing yourself and allowing yourself to be disappointed, but also continue moving forward, especially when it comes to relationships with other people, especially people that you know are on your side, are in your corner. If they have to push back on plans or move things around because of their schedule or your schedule, there needs to be a level of understanding and flexibility for you to have room for that in your friendship. But it also does not mean to be a yes, yes, yes queen. You can say no, and I want you to feel empowered to say no, but at the same time, having that flexibility and being adaptable in situations where you feel out of control will help alleviate some of that stress. But when you add adaptability into the equation, you allow room for yourself to process your feelings a lot faster, because while you might be disappointed or you might feel a little out of your element because, well, that's not what I was planning on doing, you still have a level of control. You still are able to keep pushing forward. You took the thing, you made peace with it, and you kept it pushing, and you maybe had to re-strategize or figure out a new way to approach something, but you're still going to make your way there. As you're being adaptable, I talked a little bit about this when saying don't be a yes queen. You also want to have clear boundaries. As you are learning and growing into yourself, the same things that worked for you yesterday may not work for you today. You have to start recognizing that and be honest with yourself, so that way you can vocalize it to other people. Your boundaries don't have to be, no, I'm not doing that. No, I would never. They can be more things like, when I'm stressed, I take the time to do things that are productive to me versus doing things that are harmful. Stress can induce a lot of harmful behaviors, and that's a personal boundary that you can have with yourself, is that you don't do things that you feel like are going to set you back from your other goals. Your boundaries can be with other people in relationships. Your boundaries can be whatever you want them to be. They just need to resonate and ring true for you and protect you and your peace when you are in states of stress or chaos or change, to where you are a bubble and anything that infiltrates this bubble is only positivity. When you're stressed, you need to be following through with your boundaries. I personally find it really helpful to have a mindfulness practice to turn to when I'm stressed or feel like things are out of my control. It can be journaling, meditating, taking a bath, going on a walk. I like to do yoga. It could also be any other kind of physical activity, but something that kind of connects you and like really slows your mind down. I wouldn't recommend considering like weightlifting a mindfulness practice, but something where you're connecting and really thinking through the movements that you're doing would be a great exercise to integrate into a mindfulness practice. But you want to really take the time to disconnect and focus in on how you're feeling and like really re-regulate your system and slow the down. Because when we are in states of chaos and things are crazy and we feel like everything is changing and there's just a lot happening, it's really easy to get caught up in that and not take a second to slow down and breathe. And so instead, it's important to have that integrated into your schedule so that way you know exactly what to do when you're starting to feel yourself get worked up, instead of like waiting until it's been a few months and you're burnt out and you're really stressed and you don't know what to do. And so you finally journal and you're like, oh my gosh, if I was only doing that the whole time, oh, unstoppable. Reducing your screen time will also really help with this. I mean, it's science, but turning to something else that is really feeding your brain is going to help you feel better ultimately. I know we get lots of dopamine rushes from being on social media or scrolling online or playing Candy Crush, but taking a moment to get off your phone will really help reset your mind and maybe help you realize that you are not as stressed or as panicked as you thought you were. You can really ground yourself in feeling a little bit disconnected to the world and feeling like, okay, I had time to sit within myself. I had time to do the thing that I said I was going to do. I got to read. I got to hang out with friends face to face and not even worry about what was going on my phone. Or you could just sit there in silence, sit there, take a nap, hang out, just like be with yourself and be present instead of spending every moment on your phone, especially when you're stressed. Reducing your screen time to prioritize a hobby over being on your phone will also really help. I know it's hard to be like, I'm going to prioritize my hobby over all of these 75 things I need to do. A hobby should feel like a space where you can really truly be yourself and disconnect from everything else you have going on. This can relate to your mindfulness practice. So if you're doing like a movement activity type of thing, those could be like one and the same. But I think doing something that really gets you away and outside of your phone and feeling like you need to respond to people, you need to post something new on Instagram, you need to do this or that, you are getting yourself out of your element. You are physically going to do something. I mean, you can do something in your home too, but I think it's really important to get out of your own environment and go do something else to really use that time to pour back into yourself. I would really recommend doing something that feels right for you, whether it's painting, pottery, a cooking class, anything that just gets you out of your element or helps you learn a new skill or is just somewhere that you can disconnect. Amid the chaos, you also want to build a really strong support system. This can be anyone you want it to be, whether it's friends or family, or you consider your friends your family, or you're on the hunt for new friends. I have a few episodes on how to make friends in adulthood because it is hard. Like if you're coming from a place where you're like, but Jadyn, I don't have a community. I don't have a support system right now. It takes time, but I promise you can have it. As soon as I moved to Kansas City, I was here with my now fiance, and that was it. All of my friends were still in college or moved to a different city, and I just felt so isolated. I didn't have my family here or people that I was used to seeing on a regular basis, and so I had to build it all up again. And now I'm at a point where a lot of the friends that I've made since moving here have moved, and like they'll forever be in my heart and I will still be in touch with them and I consider them part of my support system. You have to be willing to take that first step if you are wanting to build your support system or your community. You just have to put yourself out there. I highly recommend doing that. I think you get out of friendships what you put in, and it's nuanced. Like not everyone is going to be the perfect fit to be in your support system or to be your friend. You pouring into them is also going to pour right back into you. When we're in the midst of chaos, I think it's really easy to lose sight of who we are. Maybe we start doing different things or behaving a little differently than we would normally. Really important when you're going through a season of transition that you stay grounded and true to who you are by thinking through what your values are. You can make it really simple to understand what you prioritize and want out of your life by writing down your values. I would recommend going online, finding a list of values and sitting there and picking 5 to 10 and saying, these are what is most important to me in my life. This is what I want out of my life. And when you find yourself in low moments, not straying away from that and not turning your back on those values. Because I think it's really easy when change is good or change is bad to just be like, I'm going to do this thing that helps me get a quick buck or level up because I'm in a position where I don't feel like I have any other choice. But when you choose your values, you are always going to have the upper hand. And finally, celebrate the small wins. We get so wrapped up in what's next and how you're going to accomplish something new. With change happening, you can feel just really out of your element and just unsure of what the future holds. But it's still really important that you celebrate the small wins. And these don't have to be big milestones. I'm saying small wins. Like, I got out of bed this morning. I got charged for the price of one banana when I really got a bunch. These are small. And like, I mean, they can be microscopic things that are maybe not a big deal to anyone else but you, but you're still able to celebrate and be like, I'm so appreciative that in this life I get to experience this. Small wins are still putting you on the trajectory to success. I think especially when you are in this season of chaos and change and not really feeling like you have a lot of control over things. Celebrate the things you do have in your control, or celebrate the things that were unexpected and you're really happy they happened. Change is coming whether we like it or not. Instead of being so worried about what's going to come with it, start preparing yourself for when it comes and how you're going to react to it. Chaos and change are inevitable, but how you react and how you stay grounded in those moments is so much more impactful. We have a long week, month, year ahead of us. And we can do it, and we will be grounded as it happens, and we are not going to let it get the best of us. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Let's Have Breakfast. I am your host, Jadyn Eliz. If you like this episode, please make sure to recommend to a friend. More content like this is on the way this year. I'm spending a lot of time making sure I'm tailoring the episodes to things you're interested in, so please let me know in the comments if you have any topics you'd like me to cover or something you're interested in learning more about, because I am here for you.